Well, hello, career thought leaders. We are here today and talking with Dr. Cheryl Minnick from the University of Montana about how to have etiquette in this COVID situation. So, Cheryl, you've been doing some thinking about this because you have students that are job searching, right?
Oh, why we have been talking about this. We have students that are job searching, students who were offered positions that have been rescinded, internships that went part of the semester and stopped. And we're trying to teach them how to move through it with grace and professionalism rather than frustration and tears. And it's been a bit of a challenge for all of us to move through. Like I said earlier, I wake up in the morning, I think, oh, it's a normal day. I'm going to do this. And then I think, oh, it's not a normal day. I can't do that.
Yeah. We still wake up and think, oh, I'm going to go on that interview. And then we think, oh, it's going to be different. So we're going to be talking about that today and all the different areas to think about in our communications. And I know we've got kind of talking about email communications, interviews, virtual interviews, some in-person interviews are happening. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and just all of the ways, as you said, that we can go through this with grace and professionalism. Because our reputation is forever and we don't want to ruin it during this time.
And it does show how you will move through challenges and complicated work issues as well as times in our lives. So it's pretty important to think about the effect is not just on us, and that's what I tell students. It's not just you, it's also the employer and the recruiter on the other side is having challenges in themselves, not necessarily just at work, but it might be on their wallet, on their family, maybe psychosocial, maybe on their health, their well-being. You don't know if someone in their family hasn't been infected. So we have to step back and step out of our own shoes and show a bit of grace as we move forward.
That's so important. And I'm hoping that folks that are joining us will say hello in the comments and share your thoughts as we go through. Let's start. We're going to kind of start at the beginning of a job seeker's journey, move through the job seeker journey, and then talk a little bit about while you're at work and what we can do to help our clients who are at work and wanting to keep their job, grow their career, have goals, right? We all have goals, even on the other side of COVID, that we don't want to get in the way of by our actions right now.
Right. Definitely. Absolutely. That's one of the things we've been telling students is take a deep breath. The way you move through, I mean, that's not forever. They might call you back in 2 months, so don't blow everything.
Yeah, trying to think long term is difficult right now for all of us in all ways. So let's talk a little bit about the resume. What has changed? Okay. What do we want to think about on our resume now that we're in this period?
Well, for some of our students, let's talk about students, but it might apply to career seekers too. Some people have a position and it's disappeared. Maybe they were in it 2 months, maybe they were in it 6 months. I had a client just contact me last night and say, should I put this on my resume? I've been in it about 6-7 months and it's disappearing. What should I do? And so we were talking about how he might display his value in a few bullets of what he's accomplished and then say something like drove media sales to 50 times benchmarks goals in the first quarter of 2020, and then could say the role was eliminated in April due to COVID, rather than not having anything on there. I think a recruiter would be more inclined to see that with optimism. And we do know that the research shows that after 6 months of not being employed, there is an implicit bias against the unemployed. So probably that. And then we have students who were offered internships, super excited, and then it was rescinded. They're like, should I put it on? Should I not? I did have it, but I didn't do it. And so we've been encouraging them to go ahead and put it on, like a tax accounting intern and where in the summer of 2020, and then just put that they were vetted against other candidates for a competitive position, offered the position, and that was rescinded due to COVID-19.
Yeah,
So
and we were talking with Parker Dewey's CEO. We were talking about, do you put that in the summary? Do you put it in the experience section? And every situation is going to be different. I do
right.
think it's important to have that conversation and figure out how you can put it on, especially if it was a competitive position aligned with their major. It shows that they won, right? They won the job. It just didn't materialize.
Most of our students, we had them reach back out and ask if there was a way they could unbundle the internship and take a piece out and do that remotely, and perhaps even do it remotely without pay so that it would be noted on their resume and they would have that experience in mentorship. So that worked really well too.
Good, good. And so in the resume, as you were saying, and we were talking to Shally Steckrell, he's a recruiter, and he was saying that, job hopping is when people have a lot of short-term jobs. So if someone recently, and this may be more experienced professional than a student, but if they recently had a job, as you were saying, and they only had it for 6 or 7 months, it's okay to put that job on there. We don't want to leave that large gap. And then, as you were saying, put why they were leaving or that it was eliminated, little short sentence at the bottom of that introductory paragraph that just explains that, but doesn't leave this huge gap on the resume.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Tell the truth. And this truth seems to be a truth worth telling, that everything was going forward and this happened. There's many people in that same boat. But I would rather tell the truth than leave a question, like, where have you been?
Mm-hmm. Or to make it look like you've been employed for 8 months, because that starts to get that implicit bias against the unemployed.
Why? And some of our clients and some students have a second position, like a gig. They've got what the students will call a side gig or a side hustle. So maybe we add the side gig or the side hustle. There's a few college students in my neighborhood, and they've gone around the neighborhood and they are doing tutoring for all the teachers in the neighborhood and the kids in the neighborhood. So they're doing some Zoom tutoring. Is it free? Yes. Is it volunteer free? Is it in their field of study? No, but they're doing something. So, that's worthy of putting on, that you have this little bit of a side hustle. The other thing that's been happening is what I call the slash career. I'm in a slash career right now where positions have evaporated, but your job tasks haven't. Their job tasks haven't, so maybe their job tasks are given to you. So now I kind of have 3 jobs right now, 3 people's jobs. So I'm like director of NSE slash career coach slash academic advisor. So I call that a slash career. So we're seeing more of that where people are doing 2 things. And how do we denote that?
Yeah.
That's something to think about too.
And Miles, hi Miles, thanks for joining us. So we've got the resume, and we might want to think a little bit more about what we put on there. Maybe put something on there that we wouldn't usually put, like position eliminated via COVID. Now, put this in your write-up to me is very clever, as you always are, to also think about our references, because when we're applying, or maybe we even have a references sheet that we're sending with our application, especially if we're applying to higher ed. So what do we want to do to make sure that we're staying up to date with those references?
Well, we want to be a genuine, authentic person and check in with those people. If those people are going to vouch for us and we're going to ask them to vouch for us, we should be checking in with them and seeing if they're okay, just as human to human, not I need something from you later, but just check in. How are they doing? On top of that, if you put their work phone number in your reference page, maybe they're not on site anymore. Maybe they're working from home and you'll need their cell number. Maybe they're working remotely and they've flown back home. I have 2 colleagues that have flown, quote unquote, back home, but they're back east, but they're working at the University of Montana, but they're actually back east to try to figure out what to do with the kids and stuff. So what time zone is this phone in? So it's important to make sure on your reference page you're checking in with them. How are they doing? Are they okay? Are they staying sane? Do they still have their job? Maybe it's not the perfect time for them to be your reference. And then what phone number should we use? Do they have a new job title? Is it the same one? And when we put down their contact information, maybe we should indicate a city and state, since a zip code doesn't really necessarily indicate the time zone.
Hmm.
A lot
Yeah.
of things to think about.
Yeah, the relationship piece, as well as making sure we have the right information to be courteous to them, our reference, and to the future employer, to make sure everybody's on the same page.
And we want to bring them up to date on what's happening with us too. So I just had someone, Friday, email me and ask if I would still be their reference and what phone number. And I thought, oh my gosh, yes, the phone number you probably have is my office phone number at the university. I'm working from home.
Yeah.
So just check in with them and make sure their dad is okay, and just be human to human. Build that relationship.
Yeah. Hi, Amy. Thanks for checking in.
Hi, Amy. Yeah.
So the other piece that you were talking about is kind of our personal hygiene. So many of us, me included, haven't had a haircut for months.
No, I'm with the bangs. I'm like, oh, gee, Louise.
So we're getting ready for an interview, and we might need to go get a haircut if we're going to a barbershop or a haircutting place. What are some of the things that we might want to think about before we go get that done?
I talked to a couple of my friends who own a salon or they cut hair, and a lot of them said that they are back to work, but they are wearing a mask, and they're asking their patrons to wear masks also. And they're staggering appointments. One of the nice things that you can do if they're not doing this is asking you to wait in the car, and then they'll call you in. So we want to stagger appointments. Something that both of them said is to reduce the time in the salon, maybe a cut one day and a color or highlight a different day. So you're not there an extended period of time. Another thing that I have done is the first appointment of the day, the place is clean, it's been sanitized, there's not a lot of people in there. One of my friends said, I wish everyone went and go to the bathroom in my salon, because after each patron, then she has to go in and clean the entire thing top to bottom. And it's just really cutting into time.
That's very thoughtful.
Yeah, and the other thing she said is, I don't mind. I never minded before if you brought food or drink in, but now I kind of do, because now I have to clean even more again. And I'm always thinking, where did you set that? Where did you touch that? And now I've got to clean that too. And then I have more trash in the salon that I'm constantly taking the trash out. So while we're used to maybe taking our coffee in, maybe not now, just to be kind to the salon owner or the person cutting your hair, and go to the bathroom before you go.
Well, and you were saying too, and this isn't just COVID related, but it's important that if we're maybe we haven't, people that get facials or get some of those types of things done, if you haven't had it done in a little while and you're going to go get it done, you might have a reaction. So probably not the best thing to do the day before your interview.
No, never the day before at all. Never at all. And some of the things that are happening too, one of my friends is I can't say this word, esthetician. I can't say that word well, but she's seeing a lot of people calling in, and they're saying that they've got what's called maskne. So it's mask and then acne, the word put together. And it's from that sauna-like kind of humid environment behind the mask. And so their suggestion was to wash your face often, wash the mask often, and make sure you stay as clean as you can too with it. Like, don't throw it at the bottom of your purse and throw it on the floor of your car. To keep it pretty clean. I wonder how we're going to do this with second and third graders, but
hey, my 4-year-old's been wearing a mask at daycare, and he actually does a really good job. They send pictures, and he's always got his mask on, so it can be done even by a 4-year-old.
Sharing is good, but not mask.
Right, sharing is good, but not mask. But everybody else is doing it, which makes it much easier for a 4-year-old. I don't know that fits going up the scale in terms of age, but for a 4-year-old, hey, everybody else is doing it. So
yeah.
So let's talk about what happens if we have to go to an in-person interview. What do we want to be thinking about on the way there and when we get there?
So let's think we're downtown big city, and we're going to have to go up an elevator or stairs. That's the first thing to think about is how am I going to get there? Am I using a ride share because ride shares pretty much aren't happening? Or am I going to drive my own car? Where am I going to park? Am I taking Uber or Lyft? So I'll probably need a mask for sure. If I get into the building, am I taking an elevator? Elevators, the average elevator is 6.5 to 7 feet wide and 6 feet wide. I double check this. So that means 6 feet separation, you are up against the wall. So you want to make sure that you're far away in the corner. Those buttons are pushed an awful lot of times, so maybe use the sleeve of your sweater to push it. Minimize the time. If there's one person in the elevator, there's nothing wrong with saying, I'll give you your privacy and safety. I'll catch the next one. There's nothing wrong with that. So we got to think how we're going and where we're going.
And that person that you meet in the elevator, it could be the person that's going to interview you, right? So you want to, as soon as you're walking in the door, think about that being your courteous self. I thought maybe look at what the rules are for the building ahead of time. Like our boys' daycare school has the rules posted. You've got to wear your mask. You've got to, social distance. They have things on the floor. So just knowing that ahead of time can be helpful.
Right. Yeah. Once you're in the location, follow the directions on the floor. Sometimes they have arrows that are directing the way that traffic goes. Some have big round black circles around the desks and you're not to step in that circle. Just follow those guides. The restrooms are often one person at a time now in large restrooms. The water fountains are closed off pretty much. So just be cognizant of their policies and their rules. I remember my dad, he always told me when they were interviewing, he could see out of his window the parking lot. So he would watch as they came in. And he said one guy parked next to his car and opened the door and slammed into his car. And my dad was horrified that he slammed the door into his car. And the guy came in and my dad said, no, I'm not hiring you. You just nicked my car terribly. I'm like, oh, Dad, only you. But the minute you pull in, the minute you walk in, you're being interviewed. So be careful with that. And sanitize your hands. If you want to have that spray stuff or the sanitizer, make sure you're sanitizing your hands for your own safety, someone else's safety too.
Now, handshaking, right? People aren't going to be shaking hands. So what do we do?
Well, there's lots of different things that you can do. There's stop, drop, and nod. So you can stop and then drop your head and nod. There's the hand over the heart. And then there's the cute things like the elbow butting or the ankle hitting. I've just stopped and said hi like that, but no handshaking. It's very odd. The worst part is the not hugging colleagues. Oh, hi, I haven't seen you for so long. It's like, okay, high five in the air. But those are a few things that you can do instead of shake hands.
Well, I just thought that you probably want to think about ahead of time what you want to do.
Yeah, definitely ahead of time. And practice, practice in the mirror, put Zoom on and practice in the Zoom camera and then look at it, practice on your phone video, but be mindful. And also be mindful if you're walking down a sidewalk, whether it be on campus or downtown to an interview. If you're walking with a lot of people, you can do single file so that there's space, and you can also cross the street. I've noticed in our neighborhood, many people will just cross the street to the sidewalk on the other side. You can't do that in a big city, but be mindful of that.
And then I do the big smile and wave so that people know I'm not like going to the other side of the street because I'm afraid of you. It's just that I'm trying to be courteous, especially in my neighborhood. There's a lot of people that are, probably in the 70s age range that are out walking in the morning when I'm running. And so I want to make sure that I'm not invading their space,
And then another thing about masks, I've seen a lot of inappropriate ones. And I'm thinking that your brand is also the mask you choose to wear. So I've got now like 5 of them. I have one that's the University of Montana, and then I have a white one with black piping, and it's reversed to black with a white piping, and then a leopard one, and just making fashion statements right and left.
Right, might as well have fun with it.
Really, no kidding. So we want to be mindful of that too.
Yeah, if you're wearing one that has like my husband has a Deadpool one.
Mhm. I saw a Confederate flag one the other day, and I thought, probably. I hope you're not interviewing in that or
Yeah.
anything. But yeah, so in person, when you're invited, you want to take all those precautions, not only for your health, but also just for etiquette and common courtesy. Um, Now, some people are keeping their masks in Ziploc baggies. I ordered for my older aunts a kind of a plastic trash can. It sounds terrible, but it hangs from your shifting gear in your car, and they're keeping their masks in there with their hand sanitizers and their gloves so that they can stay organized. So we want to keep those together. I've been looking at them online. Do you know there's some for $500 right now?
Masks.
I know they're crystal embedded. I'm like, $500. Oh my goodness, five is plenty. Um, but yeah, so there's also fog-proof masks where you can
Mm.
see someone's lips, and we do have students who read lips. So if you've got the ones with the plastic here, it does fog up. So you want to make sure if you're ordering one that it's the fog-free ones. And yeah, and then at the end of the interview too, there's new questions you can ask. How has the pandemic affected your business? How has it affected staffing? How has it affected goals or sales? So that's another interesting question at the end of the interview that we can think about how to craft.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
Linda said yes, personal branding and masks.
Personal branding, your mask is your brand, actually. I'm trying to get my husband one with fish on it, and I can't find one with fish on it.
Oh,
So
that's cute.
he wants one with fish, so I got him one that looks like just a man's face at the bottom. So we'll see. And then if you're thinking about a virtual interview, so you
Yeah.
want to think about your presence, your virtual interview. What does it look like? How are you projecting personality? What's in your background? Um, what does it say about you? Because it does say things in your background. So style it. There are actually Zoom stylists now. That's another career. People who come to your house and style your Zoom background. I'm like, oh, I need one, I think. That would be great.
Well, I heard, so we'd been talking about clothing the other day, and one of our colleagues posted the other day that a person was on an interview, and the interview team asked that person to stand up to show them their whole outfit, which I personally think is not an okay thing for an HR team to do, right? Your disability, if someone had a disability and couldn't stand up, and it's just kind of a little creepy. It feels a little creepy to me.
Yeah, that feels creepy.
Yeah. And we do want to be thoughtful about, if I have to go and grab something, I probably don't want to be in my sweatpants,
Right.
just in case, right?
Well, I just did an interview prep for a student who's interviewing for medical school.
Mm.
And I did ask her to, I said, pretend that your something went wrong with your camera. Show me how you would fix that. Pretend that you dropped something important. Show me how you would pick that up. So I wanted to see a natural movement. I didn't ask her to stand up, but I did see what she had on when she did make those movements.
Well, if you're a woman too, you want to think about if I lean over to get something, I don't want to be wearing a low cut shirt, right? Because you want the camera angle to be a little bit up here so that you've got good lighting and good
Yeah.
good
And
angle. But then you've got to think about your shirt.
you need to think about if the light needs to be coming in at you. If it's coming in at you and you have a light color blouse on, you can see through it. So I did ask her to go get a tank on underneath that. So those are all those different things to think about as you're thinking about a virtual interview. Little things that we already know: turn off your cell phone. And then Gina Riley actually jumped in and said, make sure that you get their phone number in case something goes wrong. And I thought, oh, that's so brilliant. In case the technology goes wrong, you can call in. And then always double check time zone. Um, you don't know what time zone people are in anymore. But the light should be coming in at you. The background should be pretty clean. Express your brand. Mute yourself when you're not speaking. I just heard this wonderful tip. I thought that is brilliant. So if it's a lot of people that are coming to the meeting, if there are a lot, and say you're on a search committee of 6 or 7, appoint one person to be watching the others. And when someone jumps off a mute, you know they probably want to say something because it's very difficult to interrupt. And I thought, oh, that would be so great in a classroom to have a TA notice who's trying to say something, because it is hard to speak in Zoom.
Well, and I would say for our people who are working, make
Mhm.
sure you join those meetings with video. You
Mhm.
may not be able to all the time, but the more that we can join with video, right? That's our brand. People get to see our face. When we're just there without our video, it's a lot harder to make a good impression and to be part of the meeting.
Kind of makes me wonder if they turned on the computer and turned it on to pretend they're there and then walked away. I don't know. Where are you? Are you in your bed still in pajamas? You're supposed to be at work. And something, I've been on a lot of Zoom calls lately. And I don't know about anyone else out there, but I'm not enjoying watching people eat. I'm just not digging it. And yes, we go to staff meetings and sometimes people bring their snack bar and their coffee, but I don't know about anyone else. I am not digging watching people eat. So I would love to hear what everybody else is thinking about that in meetings and stuff. But back to dress. Yes, dress for the interview, just like you were going to an interview. Show them your brand. Show them, smile, make eye contact, face the camera wherever it is. Oh yeah, Miles. Yes, I do work with students. I do. And something that's been happening in my neighborhood is I kind of live outside of the city of Missoula, kind of in the country. And our Wi-Fi will go down and it will say weak Wi-Fi because I know all the teachers in the neighborhood and all the students in the neighborhood are jumping on at the same time. And also, I did not know this, but I was on a Zoom call in the evening and my husband was going to stream a Netflix movie and all of a sudden the Wi-Fi was just really not working well. So we want to be mindful too of what's going on in the house, especially during interviews. And tell everyone, I need all the Wi-Fi, no one on.
Well, like some services, you can shut off all the other devices, right? You can turn the on Xfinity, you can control which devices can access the internet. So that might be a good thing to do if you're on an interview.
Yeah, it's very important to have Wi-Fi going in the middle of the interview. But there's so much to think about with the virtual interviews. How am I expressing my brand? Because I think it's harder to express yourself via the camera, and then you'll see yourself and think, "Whoa! Don't look at myself. Look at the camera."
Yeah,
and that's hard too.
Well, and so these are a few strategies that we shared during our interview session a while ago. But I've got these. One of our colleagues sent me these, and it's a little pair of eyes that you put over the camera, and then you can slide it so that the camera is visible, but then you can slide it over the camera when you're not using it. And that's really good because it reminds you to look at the eyes. One of our other colleagues said that she puts a picture of her husband or her son or something right by the camera so that it reminds her to look at the camera and smile. And we also talked about making sure you use words like interested, excited, those kind of emotion words so that people can see that emotion. We express those words with emotion. So we might have to work on actually remembering to use the word in our answer. Yeah. What I really loved about that, right? We want to use
that. The student I was helping with the med school it's virtual, and usually med school you fly out. So she was saying it's weird not flying out, not getting to see the school, not getting to meet the people and look at the classrooms. But we were talking about interview tips, and we're using the frame of her desktop with little notes, post-it notes, to remind her and give her some tips. And I said, well, let's look at the positive side. If you were there, you couldn't have those little cheat sheet nips, and look at all the money you're saving. And you don't even have to wear pants if you don't want to. I'd like you to, but you don't have to. So we were thinking about all of those wonderful things about interviewing virtually. I was trying to count all the good things. I don't know.
That's all we have right now is, as you were saying, approach the situations with grace, professionalism, know what the expectations are
Yeah.
before you go, both virtually and or in person. Someone else wrote on our comments on LinkedIn to do a practice call with a friend. So find out what system they're using. Are they using Zoom? Are they using GoToMeeting? Find out what system they're using and do a practice session with a friend, which is a great idea, so that you actually get to use the technology before you have to do it in an interview.
I do that with all the students. And I also want to see what they're wearing. So in the camera, they can show me and we can see how it plays to the camera. The lighter colors really disappear and the light will make things see through a bit. And if it's a satiny, it has a glare on it. It's all those things that we know from ballet and pageants about stage lighting. So we definitely want to practice if we're in person or we're doing it virtually. Practice.
Any last etiquette tips here?
Oh my gosh, let's see. Well, if you're in a store and someone's in your space, if you're in an office building and someone's in your space, if someone gets too close to you, you can always just ask them, hey, would you mind just distancing a bit more? Or you can play devil's advocate and say, I'm sorry, I'm not feeling very well. It might be good for you to distance from me. Maybe you are, maybe you are. But another thing that we want to think about is how we're signing off on our emails. Sincerely, what it seems, cheers seems pretty inappropriate right now. So, best, be well, stay safe, and how we start our emails. Hi, I hope you're doing well and staying healthy since the last time we spoke. So we want to change the tone of our emails just a little bit. And then again, when we're in a virtual environment, to try to be 100% present. I even catch myself pulling back and I'm not quite 100% present when there's so many faces and so many meetings. I'm like zoomed out. So we have to do that. Close the door, keep pets out. I don't mind the occasional cat mom or a dog mom, but other people aren't so thrilled with that. Something about Slack is we're doing a lot of DM on Slack. One thing we need to remember is that Zoom can be video recorded and Slack can be printed, all the communications. So that's a public channel. It's a public channel for public communications, not private communications. So sometimes you might have to text someone and say, hey, you might want to delete your Slack, what you just said. And you can text me that, but let's keep that it feels like pretty casual, but it's not.
Well, and that's important for our people who are interviewing to understand ahead of time. Will the Zoom interview be recorded? Is this just a live interview? Those might be questions that we ask the HR person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, another thing that I've been finding recently, the students are telling me that they were told it's a closed resume interview. And I said, what is closed resume? I never heard of that before. Well, what's happened is they've been vetted based on their resume. And now the top 3 candidates are going forward with no resume. So the people interviewing them is closed resume. They do not get that with them. So the recruiters got to see the resume in the first round. Now playing field's leveled. It's just fit, answer questions.
Interesting.
So I said, a closed resume. Wow. So the students were trying to explain to me, yeah. And I'm like, oh, that's new.
Although I think a lot of people I interviewed in the past hadn't seen my resume. I probably would have liked to have been able to use that excuse. When I interviewed at CSU, it was a department head, vice department head, I can't remember. And he asked me if I had found the campus okay. And if you'd looked at my resume, you would have seen that I'd worked on campus for 10 years. So he obviously hadn't looked at my resume.
So this is purposeful, closed resume. I thought that was so interesting. So now you have to sell yourself in a meeting and in that final interview, absent the resume, the document itself. So I thought
Interesting.
that was very interesting. So that's the second student in the last, let's say, month who's talked to me about a closed resume interview, the second interview.
Interesting.
So we should look that up and figure out what that really is and why that is.
Yeah, why people are doing that. Well, Cheryl, thank you so much for sharing all of these etiquette tips. And we will share the write-up that you put together too, so that people can have that.
Absolutely. And from my husband, be careful on the alcohol wipes you get. Make sure it says isopropyl alcohol. Mine did not, and it's a poisonous alcohol in the wipe.
Oh, nice.
Yes, I know. Good to know, right? So it was, it was methanol. So methyl alcohol. So he's an infectious disease guy. He's like,
Nice
thanks
to
for
have
bringing
around.
toxic wipes home, honey.
Always something. Always something. Well, thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you, Cheryl. And we will see everyone again soon. Thanks, Miles, and thanks, Linda, for dropping by. It is nice to hear from you. Thanks for sharing.
Thanks, Linda. Bye, guys.